Welcome back to another episode on Journey to Authenticity, a podcast helping you become fully authentic on our journey to success. I'm your host, Braden Belknap, and I'm a human just like you, striving to build a dream life, all while I stay true to myself. But what if you're in a position where not only have you been told, but you've also felt like you can't accomplish your dreams? Maybe it's a spiritual reason, a physical reason, or even a mental reason. Maybe it's belief blocking you, a hard time in life, or maybe you just physically are unable to accomplish your dreams. That's exactly why I have Clint Pulver joining us today, because he's gone through that all. He had a dream as a little boy to go fly helicopters. It's what he wanted to do all along. That was his dream. And we went to the DMV to get his license just for driving a normal car. He found out he had an eye disease. Being told no, that not only just because of spiritual or mental reasons of limiting beliefs you can't accomplish your dreams, you physically can't. And through that, he found another dream, drumming, now a professional drummer. But better yet, through amazing technology, doctors, you name it, he got his eyesight back and he's living out his dream, flying helicopters. And now he's created a life where not only does he earn a lot, but he's giving a lot. That in mind, welcome to the show, Clint.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely. I say we just jump right into things. What initially inspired you to be a speaker, entrepreneur, to say the least?
Yeah, so I was a senior in high school. Never had the goal of becoming a professional speaker. All I wanted to do was fly helicopters. I wanted to play the drums. Had been drumming for most of my life at that point since I was 10, and as a senior in high school had just finished flight school, and I actually gave a talk in church, and there was a guy that owned a leadership consulting company that heard me give that talk, and he came up after and he goes, "Listen, kid, like, you did a really great job. I own a leadership consulting company. We've got this conference that we do for student leaders down in southern Utah. We would love to have you come and speak." And I was like, "No, I'm good. Like I'm a high school kid. I don't want to go talk to other high school kids. Like, I'm okay." He's like, "I'll pay you $500. And I was like, "Let's do this. Like, you let me know when and where." And I went down and did this little conference, and I put together this little workshop. It's called To the Beat of the Drum. And I just taught music principles and things that I had learned as a professional musician, and applied it to kind of what kids may experience in a leadership role. And I just loved it. And I had 6 other schools that came up to me after at that event, and they said, "We want to book you to come speak at our school." And I was like, what do you mean? Like, book me to come speak? And they're like, yeah, we book speakers all the time. Like, we do it, and we'd love to bring you, and we think you'd be great. I'm like, okay, like, let's do this. And so that was like the catalyst into people get paid to speak. And I had this kind of unique story. The drums were always kind of fun. It was unique and different, but I never looked at it as like a stable job or a stable source of income or something that you could do for a living. And I still wanted to fly. I had an eye disease that ended that whole career. And to be honest, at that point, I had no idea what I was going to do. I looked at speaking as something that was not stable. I looked at music as something that was not totally stable, or something that I felt like I couldn't be a good dad, or I couldn't be home or present as a touring musician. I didn't want that life. And so I honestly just chased the money, and I went to school and I went to college, and I chased kind of the 401k and the benefits. And my parents were like, "Go get a good job in the medical field, like a lot of stability. You can raise a family, decent life." My dad was in the medical field. And I graduated. I was an orthopedic specialist. I did that for 5 years post-college, and I was absolutely miserable. And there was a quote that was shared with me in college by a great mentor. The quote was by Oscar Wilde. And the quote says, "To live is the rarest thing in the world, for most people merely exist." And that quote haunted me every single day post-college, because every day I felt like I was just existing. It was like 9 to 5, rinse and repeat. And I sat down with 3 of my buddies and I said, "You guys, wouldn't this be crazy if you could find a job, if you could find a life, a career that allowed you to do three things, then I called them the 3 Ps: passion, purpose, and the ability to provide. Like, what if you could find a job, a career, a pursuit that allowed you to do something that you were passionate about? Like, if you had 3 hours on a Saturday, like, what you'd be doing this. If money were no option, like, you would do this. Like, if you had, time to just check out videos on YouTube, you'd watch this. Like, at the end of the day, if you were to do this, you wouldn't be so much tired from doing it. You'd be more fulfilled. Like, totally passionate about something. Second was purpose. So passion's kind of about you intrinsically. Purpose is about being something better for somebody else, doing something bigger than yourself. What if it had a level of significance to it, not just success, where you felt like you were bettering the world because of what you were doing? And then third, there's realities to life in the financial realms of being able to provide. What if you could provide in a way that was sufficient for you? Some people, that's living in a small little 2-bedroom apartment in New York City, living the dream. Good for them. There is no right answer. It's just whatever that income level is. What if you could find a job that allows you to do those 3 things: passion, purpose, and the ability to provide? And both my buddies, they were college grads. They looked at me and they go, I don't know, dude. Like, I don't know if that really exists. Like, look at a school teacher. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, school teacher, full of passion, full of purpose, but every summer they're looking for extra jobs, right? They're looking to make extra income because they can't provide. There's a struggle there. Or look at maybe a doctor making good income, but then all the stress, the malpractice, the time away from family. Like, I don't think you can find one job that really allows you to do all 3 of those things most of the time. Like, what you're asking for, I'll never forget this. My buddy said, what you're asking for is so rare. And it triggered that quote from Oscar Wilde. To live is the rarest thing in the world. For most people, merely exist. And 2 weeks after that conversation, I quit my job. I left the medical field. I announced it on Facebook to the world. The headline said, "Today I quit my job." And I had people writing me and messaging me and saying, like, "Are you okay? You like, let's go to lunch. Let's talk. Like, don't do this. Like, what are you doing?" And I announced that I was going to quit my job to become a professional speaker, because that was the place. That was the thing that I felt all 3 of those. I felt a sense of passion, a sense of purpose for sure, and I was able to provide. And it didn't all totally make sense, but I can now. 8 years after that moment, I'm a professional speaker for 8 years. And I can say the day I quit my job was truly the day that I started living.
That's amazing. So it's been 8 years since you've quit your job.
Okay.
Did you, just more out of a curiosity, did you have speaking engagements lined up already, or was it just, we're going for it?
No, so I did design the plan. I'm all about, like, you've heard that quote of, like, you burn the ships, right? Cortez, right? He like brought the ships in, and the guys were there, and they're like, we're going to take over this nation, or we're going to die. And he burnt the ships, right? That's the story. I've always looked at that story in the world of entrepreneurship as, how do you bring the boats into the shore as close as you can before you burn them, right? How do you de-risk a situation? And so for me as a speaker, there was definitely a plan. I think you can, again, live a life by default, or you can live a life by design. And so I worked really hard to design a plan that could work. I created what was called a board of mentors, people that were living and breathing the things that I wanted to do, and connected with them. But really, my first events came from that Facebook post. And I said, I'm doing this. And I had done a little bit before, right? From those events, from that high school moment that kind of spiraled into other opportunities. But really, it was that big announcement, and then working the power of the backyard. I went to all my friends, all my family. I started calling local schools, and I just said, I'll come and speak for free. Who's willing to let me come in and share? And then I listened, right? The market is always right in entrepreneurship. I think that's a key thing, right? It doesn't matter what your mom thinks. It doesn't even, sometimes to some extent, you stay authentic to who you are. But ultimately, if you want to do this for a business, the market determines your value. It determines whether or not you're marketable or you're valuable as something that increases an ROI. And so for me, I listened to that market, and I went and met with principals and vice principals. And I asked this question. I said, what would you pay a speaker $1,000 to talk about for 1 hour to your students? And I just listened to their needs. I listened to their concerns. I listened to the problems that they were having. And then from that, I started to craft a keynote. And then I went back to those individuals. And that was how I got my first speaking video, speaking demo footage, and my first speaking gigs. Went and did it for free, built the reel, and started speaking to kids.
You're not wrong. The market doesn't lie.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the reality. You get paid for what you're worth.
Totally.
And quite frankly, you don't get paid for what you think you're worth.
Totally.
You get paid for what the market determines you're worth.
Well, and as a speaker, what you're able to charge is directly correlated to the insurance policy that you can provide that event. So if an event brings you in, like I've seen many times, I've had in my career 5 different event planners that have lost their jobs because they brought in a crappy speaker, or they brought in a speaker that cursed from stage, or a speaker that didn't understand the audience, or a speaker that just bombed, or that didn't relate, or they didn't do a good job. And at the end of it, because of the amount that the speaker was paid, they lost their jobs. Everybody is, especially if they've never seen you. I don't know of an industry where somebody would pay somebody $25,000, $30,000 to come and talk for 1 hour. And they judge that mainly based off of a 2-minute video, a 2-minute demo video. And, being able to show your credibility, your craftsmanship, your competence on stage, right? The insurance policy that you can provide that event, that he's going to come in, she's going to come in, and they're going to rock it. They are going to deliver. And that's equivalent to what you can charge.
I love that. I am out of curiosity, have you ever bombed on stage?
Yeah, there's been moments where I didn't connect, especially in my earlier years, when you're developing the message, when you're developing the story, when you're developing the content. That's a whole process. And the only way that I think you can learn that properly is through being in the arena, right? Reps, getting beat up. And the youth market is hard. It's the hardest audience to speak to. If you can go in a crappy sound system gym surrounded by 3,000 high school students and hold them for 45 minutes and keep their attention and deliver a moving, man, you can speak to anybody. I call it the Raptors cage. They'll eat you alive. And kids have no problem flipping you off in a keynote. They have no problem tuning you out. And so I spending time in the Raptors cage, I got eaten alive a lot, but I learned really quickly. Yeah. So it was a great training ground.
Do you know Ben Carr?
Yeah, very well.
Okay.
Yeah, one of my best friends.
Okay, I was going to say, he came on and he said something similar to that. Yeah. And that's why I was laughing. I was like, okay, so 2 of the greatest speakers here in Utah say the same thing. It's probably true.
Yeah. Then many of the great speakers started in the youth market. It's easy to get in there to some extent, to get in if you have a great message, but it's hard to survive in that market. And the kids will teach you. Any credit that I can ever attest to myself or that I have as a speaker, I always credit to the kids. They taught me how to speak.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So obviously you got in, you learned, you got the reps in. Well, how long was this journey until you quote unquote got out of the Raptors cage and into what you're doing now?
Yeah, I think one of the best things in the world of speaking is to have a great speech. Right? If you're good enough, I believe this, if you are good enough, nobody's stopping you. There's so many opportunities for speakers. There's so many opportunities in this world to speak professionally, but to speak professionally consistently at a high fee is very rare. Speakers get booked primarily because of 4 reasons. Number 1, you're a celebrity, right? You're the Ed Milet. You're the Gary Vaynerchuk. You're someone that's going to fill seats. You're Simon Sinek. You've got some sort of a name, a celebrity status. You're the dude that landed the plane in the Hudson River. You're an astronaut. You're Michael Jordan, right? Like, people would pay to show up and listen to you speak. So you're a celebrity. Second reason is you're an expert. You've done some sort of a research study. You've been the CEO of this Fortune 500 company for 20 years. You've got some level of credibility. You've written books. You're published. There's some expert level to who you are and what you deliver. The third reason is entertainment. Like, you juggle, you swallow fire on stage. You play the guitar. Maybe you play the drums. Maybe you're extremely funny. That's a form of entertainment. You're really good at storytelling. That's also a form of entertainment. So entertainment value matters. And then the fourth component is inspiration. You've done something, you have some inspiring story. You're the dude that ran 50 Ironmans in 50 days in 50 different states. You climbed Mount Everest with no legs. Like, just some inspiring, moving story. Now, most people don't have all four of those things. They might have different levels of that. Any person that's speaking on any level or any stage has one, or the best goal would be to have a variation of all four. And that's hard. That's hard to do. And the weird thing is, in the market, in the world of speaking, there is no barrier to entry. Like, you could literally tomorrow change your LinkedIn profile and say, I'm a speaker. And you kind of could be. But to consistently get booked, then to be well known in this world as a professional speaker, someone who slays and delivers and has that insurance policy, right? That every time they're gonna do their job, every time they're gonna deliver. That's hard. It's really hard to do. And so for me, in that journey, it was finding who are the people that when I look at them, I go, that's what I want to do. You're living the life that I want to live. You should do whatever it takes to associate with astonishing people. My dad, growing up, was my wrestling coach. I wrestled for 8 years at Wasatch High School. And my dad, every Friday night, he'd be like, come on, get in the truck. Let's go. And we were going to go to the varsity wrestling matches to watch Kel Sanderson wrestle. Like, I don't know if you know who Kel Sanderson is. If you're a wrestler, you know who Kel Sanderson is. The dude's a monster. The guy never lost a match in high school. He never lost a match in college. Nobody beat him. And then this dude went to the Olympic Games in Athens, Greece, where he took gold medal. He's now the head coach of Penn State University, runs the greatest performing wrestling collegiate program in the world. And every Friday night, my dad would be like, come on, let's go. We're going to watch Kel throw guys around on the mat like ragdolls. Let's go. And I remember one Friday night, I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, listen, I just don't want to go. Like, we go every Friday night. Like, I know Kel's going to dominate. I just don't want to go. And my dad, he's a really good coach. And he looked at me and he said, okay. He said, you don't want to go? You don't have to go. He says, I will never, as your dad, I'll never make you go. He said, but I have one question for you. And he got really serious. He looked me in the eyes. He goes, do you want to be a great wrestler? Do you really want to be great? And I said, yeah. I said, of course, Dad. He said, then you got to hang out by the mat. If you want to be a great wrestler, you got to hang out by the mat. And I've always remembered that lesson, especially in entrepreneurship, right? Like, you want to be great at basketball, you got to hang out by the hoop. You want to be great at swimming, you got to hang out by the pool. Same thing in the world of speaking. And so I joined organizations like the National Speakers Association, where all the great speakers were hanging out. I joined, I did a little bit within the world of Toastmasters, started listening to podcasts, reached out to the people that I said, that's what I want to do. And it was cool because I think there's something to be said for the power of rookie mode. I was in rookie mode. I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. And as someone who gets reached out to a lot on how to become a speaker, I take time I think everybody deserves a phone call. And I had so many people that gave me phone calls. They gave me time to help. And as I associated myself with the mat, right, on the mat, hung out by the hoop, hung out by the mic where those speakers hang and where they were at, I expedited my success. I de-risked my failure rate, and they showed me the roadmap of what the components were to thrive and to create a speaking business that would last.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So if there was, obviously there's a lot of details that goes into that, but what would the basic roadmap be for anybody listening that would want to be a speaker?
Yeah.
What is that basic roadmap on how to succeed?
Yeah, it really comes down to I would say 5 components. Every speaker that's rocking it in some way, shape, or form in this world, they have these 5 components. Number 1 is they understand super well their audience, who they're speaking to. Are you speaking to kids? Do you want to speak to entrepreneurs? Do you want to speak to business managers? Do you want to speak to CEOs and executives? Do you want to speak to sales professionals? Like, who is your audience? Second is in one word, can you tell me the problem that you solve for that audience? And in one word, can you tell me the solution that you provide? And then how are you the only one in the world that can do it in the way that you do it? There's a book, it's called The War of Art. I love that book. And in that book, it talks about in war and battle and in trying to overcome an obstacle or an enemy. The goal is not to figure out how to have the best strategy or how to have the best weapons or how to create the strongest army. No, the goal in battle is to become unassailable. And I love that, especially in the world of entrepreneurship. How do you become the category of one? Meaning that when event planners sit in a room and they're all looking at different speakers and they're trying to consider who they're going to book to speak, they will sit in a room and they will literally look at like 10 to 15 speaker videos, demo videos of different speakers. And you've got 30 seconds, sometimes a minute, to show them that you are the sure bet. How do you become reassuringly expensive? Meaning that you're unassailable. Nobody else can do what you do. You've got the celebrity factor. You've got the expertise. There's entertainment value. You've got this inspiring story that's going to move people. And so, again, but being so clear in your branding, right? You don't want to be the speaker that speaks to everybody about anything. You'll get lost. There's so many speakers that do that. But if you can become the person that's in that category of one and you create a brand that's truly unassailable, you can create a career in this industry for 30, 40, 50 years. You can speak and you can train and you can live off of that brand. One thing that I've been thinking about, it's a cool thought, is there's a reason why you go to an improv club, an improv comedy night, and you pay like $10 a ticket, right? You go to comedy club, you go watch it. It's funny, enjoyable. And then there's the price tag to go to Wicked. And that is $150, $200, sometimes $300, even more per ticket. Why? Well, because it's a sure bet, right? They have created something that literally Wicked's been on Broadway for how many years? And it hasn't changed, right? But it consistently delivers in a way that creates this experience. They're unassailable. And it went from a book to a stage production to now a blockbuster movie that's crushing.
It's insane, actually.
So how do you create a Wicked brand? How do you create that Wicked keynote? And so step 2 is really understanding what's the problem we solve, what's the solution that I provide in one word, and then how do you become the only one in the world that does that? For me and my brand, what's the problem that you solve? Retention. And then, well, I would say the problem that I solve is turnover. The solution I provide is retention. What's the problem you solve? Turnover. What's the solution? Retention. And we've done that in a way that's unlike anything else. With the Undercover Millennial work, with the drum solo, with the drumline experience. It's just unique. It's totally a category of one. So the third component is then craftsmanship. You have to be astonishing on stage, period. You want to be a speaker, you need to be amazing. To the point of where your hands are at, your pacing, your tone, the ability to pause. I see it, people that are self-proclaimed or gurus, or I don't know, people that get up on that are maybe celebs, but they're not truly professional speakers. And if you get up and you watch a professional speaker, like someone who's just, it's art, it's amazing. It's captivating to be able to take an audience on a ride. And so putting in those reps, putting in that time, being on stage, you'll see someone who's a trained speaker. Now you watch speakers that really know what they're doing. Every minute they'll say something funny. It's a dance. It's truly beautiful. The power of good oration and good communication and the ability to just truly make that authentic. There's a canned speech, and then there's just truly a master on stage, and craftsmanship is a part of that. The fourth component would be your board of mentors, creating almost like a board of directors, but a board of 4 to 5, maybe even more individuals that you invite as your mentors, and you, in rookie mode, go to them and say, listen, I need support, I need help, and allowing them to help and guide you. I don't know any speaker that's reached any level of success in this industry by themselves. They always have a tribe of people that supported them. And then the fifth thing would be your demo video and your website. It's everything. Again, this is an industry where people will pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars based off of a 2-minute video. And your website. Again, if I can't figure out what problem you solve and what solution you provide and how you're the only one in the world that does what you do in less than 10 seconds, then you need to do better, because too many speakers are doing that really well. And they're the ones that consistently get booked. You can't have one without the other, right? Some speakers are really good at marketing and they're horrible on stage. And then there's speakers that are actually really good on stage, but they're horrible at marketing. It's a balance between both of those. But the foundation is still a great speech, and then learning how to market the experience that you provide. How do you not just become a keynote speaker? How do you truly be somebody that on stage you create an experience for people?
Yeah, it's a business.
Totally.
So if you're going to succeed, what I'm hearing is if you're going to succeed, you have to operate it as a business.
Totally. It is a business.
Every business has a product or service, has marketing, has sales, and has operations.
100%.
If you don't even know how to speak, you got to learn that first.
Yeah.
And that's where you go get your mentors, you learn, you get your reps in, you probably practice in the mirror.
Yep.
You do what's needed to become good. Then you got to market it. Sometimes that's getting in the world before you even have content to market. That's just the reality.
Yep.
You got to get on the phones, and then you got to execute.
Yep.
And if you have all those components together operating like a well-oiled machine, naturally you'll achieve success.
Yeah. And I think, and two, again, there's something to be said for success. There's something else to be said for significance. There's a difference between those two things. And I think sometimes in the world of entrepreneurship, we strive for that level of success, but sometimes we miss significance. And significance, I've always said that it's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best for the world. Because at the end of your life, I think everybody's going to be surrounded by two things. You'll be surrounded by either the woulda, shouldas, and the couldas, or you'll be surrounded by the do it, did it, done it's. And I know that sounds maybe a little bit trite or fluffy or motivational to some extent, but for me, again, the hope is to really live. Where I feel like at the end of my life, there was a lot of wouldas and shouldas and couldas, but mostly the do it, did it, done it's that were in the pursuit of passion, purpose, and the ability to provide. The most significant speech of my life, still to this day, was when I went and spoke at a high school, bunch of kids. And at the end of the speech, all the kids came up, we're hanging out, we're talking, and this girl walks up. She's got tears in her eyes, and she quickly walks up. She hands me a note. She goes, I don't need it. I don't need it anymore. Take it. And then she just disappears. I still, to this day, I don't know who she is. I don't know her name. I took the note. I said, thank you. I kept talking to the kids. And then I went out in my car to head to the airport. And I remember I had the note in my pocket, and I took it out. And it was her suicide note that she had written that morning. And that was a moment for me when I realized that it's not just about making money. It's not just about doing what I love. It's not just about being successful in this industry. It's about realizing the privilege of the platform. And what you say and how you say it, it matters. And to truly check your motives. Like, is this to get more sales? Is this to get back of the room sales? Is this to increase your coaching program? Or is it really to impact and support the lives of people in that audience? Because everybody in that audience is asking the question, let me know when it gets to the part about me. And that's always my goal. Should be the goal of every entrepreneur. Is how do we get to the part about them? That we make this world better, that because they might use your product, that because they might know you, because they heard your words, because they experienced your brand, that they get to live a better story. They might go home a better mom. They get to go home a better dad. And in doing so, we create better families. That's significance. And there's power in that. And for me, still to this day in my entrepreneurship journey, that's my motive. That's my motive.
That's powerful. That's a hard-hitting moment I'm sure you relive that all the time.
Yeah, I still have the note from that girl. And I've had many other moments like that where people reach out, and it's cool. It's when you realize that it's not just a job, but it's a calling, and it's a mission, and so much of who I am and the message that I still share to this day. It's just something bigger than myself. It's something that I feel like I'm put on this earth to do, and there's a powerful meaning behind it, and that's cool. My hope is that everybody gets to experience that. Mark Twain, right? There's a classic I don't even know if it was Mark Twain that said it. Everybody attributes it to Mark Twain. But he said that there's 2 important days in a person's life: the day you're born, and then the day you figure out why. You know, can we get to that point where we figure out why? Like, this is my true authentic self. This is authentically who I am, and this is authentically why I believe that I'm here, and that I have certain gifts and talents and attributes that authentically can lift this world, that can make this world better. What a way to live.
Well, you've done it. I mean, you've saved more than one life, clearly, through your work. Sometimes it's just in a sea of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. That one person makes it well worth it.
When it's about moments, you know, like, you look at your life, and I don't think most people don't remember days in our lives. We remember the moments. And if you can create those moments where people, when they're with you, they go, I like myself best. Or a moment that, because of maybe what you said and the way that you said it, or what you did, like, triggers something, opens up a door, opens up a window, changes a perspective. Like, it's a cool way, again, to live. How do we create moments?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, out of curiosity, was there any time in this journey of speaking, entrepreneurship, that you're like, man, should I just throw in the towel?
Even still to this day, there are moments when, even in the entrepreneurship journey, I've been doing it for 8 years, we've had great success and significance. And still, as we close the end of 2024 and we begin 2025, I still, in the back of my mind, I'm like, am I going to be able to do this to the capacity that I did last year? And am I going to be able to create the same amount of revenue? Am I going to be able to create the same amount of impact? How long can I do this for? So yeah, that is always an authentic, honest thought that I still have. I've worked really hard to create stability and consistency, and something that I can rely on. But speaking in the world of entrepreneurship for me has been something that you can never take your foot off the gas pedal. There's moments when your foot's on it and you're pushing to the floor, and you're grinding and you're building and you're hustling and you're doing just it. I've always said this: entrepreneurs, we work 80 hours a week so we don't have to work 40. It's true, right? You put, there's those moments, but then, you know, after doing this for 8 years, there's moments where my foot's just, I'm not pushing, I'm out grinding like I used to, but my foot's still on the gas pedal. And I think the moment you take off that and we stop thinking and innovating and creating, listening to the market, I think that's the moment that it's easy to become
Comfortable?
Yeah, and almost forgotten. It's a way to become irrelevant. There's something that always, you know, in a world that's fast paced and moving, and everybody's looking for kind of the next best thing. Like, how do you become a classic and remain and stay a classic? And that just takes consistency. You have to get really good at doing small things consistently over a long period of time.
That's what matters. The big things, quite frankly, don't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, they matter, but not nearly as much as the small thing.
Totally. Little by little. That's how we make a little a lot, and get really good at doing those small little things consistently over a long period of time.
Exactly. It's, I mean, obviously different. It's the same for any business. I mean, we look at Blockbuster, Redbox.
Totally.
Remember what it was like to go on a Friday night, go to Walgreens, get a Redbox, maybe a thing of popcorn.
Yeah.
I don't got to do that anymore.
Yep.
Nowadays, I can get popcorn to my store, and I don't even need to leave my house to watch a movie.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, is when you take your foot off the gas, means you're not moving.
Yeah.
And that means you will be forgotten.
Yep. It's a constant thing. So that keeps me up at night. That keeps me thinking. But that's also fun. It's fun to continually keep creating and striving to be better. But also, I think it's an important lesson in entrepreneurship that I always try to talk about is, when is enough enough? Because in the world of entrepreneurship, it can become so easy to constantly scale. You're going to scale. Okay, we did this last year. How are we going to triple that? How are we going to double that? How are we going to grow more? How are we going to get this market? How are we going to get that audience? How are we going to innovate to the point where, man, there's a lot of things that you can miss out on. There's something to be said for financial affluence in your life. There's another thing to be said for time affluence. And how do you have more time? How do we create more time? There's a lot of entrepreneurs, successful businessmen and women, my dear friends, that have a lot of woulda, shouldas, and couldas because they were constantly grinding. They were constantly climbing the next mountain. I think there's something to be said for two. Have goals, have aspirations, push yourself, dream big. But when you accomplish a certain goal, when you reach a certain peak, take a minute and take in the view. Ask yourself, when is enough enough? Because it's so easy in this world of entrepreneurship to be caught in tomorrow's, next year, 5 years from now, growth, again, scalability. Living in tomorrow creates a lot of forgetful yesterdays.
That question makes me think. I'm curious to know, what is your answer, or have you found that answer to that question for yourself?
Yeah. As of 2 years ago, man, I reached a point in my career where I was truly fulfilled. Like, I still got my foot on the gas pedal. I'm still listening to the market. I'm still in touch. I'm still trying to get better. But I reached a point where it's enough. It's enough. I have the things that I've always hoped for and wanted. I'm doing what I totally am passionate about. It's got a massive role of purpose in my life. I'm able to provide sufficiently for my family in a way that works for us, where we have what we need. We can take the kiddos on a vacation. We can afford braces. We can do the things that, again, do I have 7 cars and 3 houses? And no. But for me, that wasn't the goal. It was to provide in a way that was sufficient for me and my family. And for me, it's the ability to not just have ultimate success, but to have ultimate fulfillment, to be truly fulfilled, to feel like, man, like this is it. Like I've done that. And then how do you just work within your fulfillment? Because you want to keep growing. You want to keep pushing yourself. You want to keep adapting. Because then it gets stale, right? To do the same, like people ask, oh my gosh, Clint, do you give the same speech every time? Every year? No, every speech is different. That's why I still speak to kids. I still speak to educators. And then the majority of my time spent in the corporate space speaking to businesses. But I shake it up because I love the diversity within that. I'm still working within my fulfillment. And so for me, that keeps me growing, that keeps it fresh, that keeps it alive. But I've also looked at, okay, this was the ultimate goal. This was the dream. And that's enough. And I love it. And you just give yourself permission to work within your fulfillment. More entrepreneurs, I think, need to give themselves the ability, the permission, the reminder to do that. When's it enough? You're at the top of the peak, from like, take in the view. It's okay. Yeah.
What you're speaking about is authenticity.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
What is enough? Most people, I would venture to say 97%, if not higher, will answer that question based upon what mom thinks, what the next door neighbor thinks.
Totally.
Anybody listening, I'm just going to encourage you to take a breath and actually ask yourself that with your own voice. Your own voice. It's in your head.
Yep.
See beyond that. Yep. Ask yourself. And if you don't know, like, is this my voice? Is this mom's voice? Is this a stranger voice? Ask yourself a deeper question. Is this my voice? And I know it sounds overly simplified, you will always have an answer.
Mhm.
Ask a question. Your brain is survival of the fittest, right? You will create an answer.
Yeah.
So just ask the questions.
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, go a level deeper. Okay, if it based upon my voice, what is enough?
Yeah.
As you start to ask yourself questions, you're going to start to really know who you are, what you desire in this world.
And sometimes even I think people sometimes don't know. Or like I remember, like at the point when I lost my medical, so I had an eye disease, I was going to fly helicopters. That was the goal. And then everything changed. I was diagnosed with an eye disease. I couldn't pass the driving test at the DMV. And I was under house arrest at the DMV. I couldn't drive. And I ended up at the Moran Eye Center, and I got diagnosed with a disease called keratoconus. And the doctor said, he said, you'll have about until age 31, 32 until you go blind. And then he said, what do you want to do when you grow up? What's the plan? Like many young entrepreneurs, young-minded, young youth are asked. And I said, I want to fly. I want to fly helicopters. And he goes, listen, kid, it'll never happen for you. Like that was my authentic self. It really was. Like that's what I wanted to do. It's my first love. Nothing sounded more me than landing on a mountain and saving a life and flying for life flight. And I just loved it. That's what I wanted to do. And all of a sudden everything changed. And I felt like I had no voice. I had no me. I didn't know me. I didn't know what else is there if I can't do this. Like what do I do? And so I went on this journey of discovering, and there's something I have weirdly, oddly enough in my life, I've associated with like farmers, like a lot of farmers. I grew up in Heber, small little town, worked on a farm, grew up on a farm. And my dad always he said, there's something to be said for tilling the dirt. Just get in and till the dirt. How do you know if soil's good? You get in, you till the dirt. And I started tilling the dirt, and I tried this, I tried that, I tried different things, and I don't know, over time it kind of shaped the things that I hated, the things that I knew I didn't want to do, and helped me to kind of ultimately find a different voice, a different opportunity to find myself. I believe that sometimes good things fall apart so that better things can fit together. And through listening to my authentic self, to listening to that voice and other voices of other people that innately triggered who I was and what pulled on my heartstrings, again, passion, purpose, and the ability to provide, that ultimately has led me to where I am today. And if you would have asked me years ago, what's your voice, Clint? What do you want to do? I never would have said be a professional speaker. But today it is 100% who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. I just didn't know it at that time. And so the road can change, the course can change. But here's the thing, 2 years ago, I went in for a routine eye exam after 5 years ago being one of the first chosen applicants for a new procedure called cross-linking. I was about to go blind. I was barely legal enough to drive. And I was number 48 on the list. And one of the first human trials, and they did it on my right eye and my left eye. And after 6 months, it stopped the progression of my eye disease. So I wasn't going blind, but I still wasn't qualified to fly. 2 years ago, I was in a routine eye exam, and the doctor's looking through my medical history. And he said, why are you not in scleral lenses? And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, scleral lenses, like they're amazing. They're changing the game. I guarantee we can help you see better. We might even be able to help you fly. And I was like, listen, I've done this for years. I don't think, I don't know if I can like have my hopes built up in such a way and to have them be devastated and not work out like it has so many times. And he goes, please let me try. And we went through 6 months of fit after fit after fit. They reshape the lens, they trial it. If it works, it doesn't, we have to reshape again. Like it's a long process. And again, I talk about moments, right? We don't remember days in our lives, we remember moments. And I'll never forget that moment in that doctor's office when he said, what's better, 1 or 2? And I said 2. He goes, okay, what's better, 2 or 3? And I said 2. And he said, okay, read the lowest line that you can read. And I said CKGELFZ. And I'll never forget when he moved the thing, he looked at me and he goes, you just read the 2020 line? And I started crying because the first thing that went through my mind was, you can fly. Like, I can fly. And, you know, what was once lost, what I felt like was all hope or a deviation, ultimately, I look back and you see the grand orchestration of what I believe is God and what I believe is a massive part of my story. And some things fell apart so that better things fit together. And through this entrepreneurship journey, you know, God, it's been 6 months ago, I bought my first helicopter. And now fly whenever I want. And the whole goal of flying is to create moments. And a great mentor of mine, a great entrepreneur, said that you learn, earn, and return in your life. Learn, earn, and return. And we just created a youth foundation called Dream Machines, where we take little kiddos with disabilities. Some of them are blind, kids with Down syndrome, kids with spina bifida, autism, and we give them and their family the gift of flight. And they're just not, that would have happened without the adversity and the struggle, and even losing my voice, losing that authentic self, not knowing what that authentic self was anymore, but still ultimately staying true to who I am through the process and being okay to maybe choose different paths and to discover, to till the dirt, to get in and to try different things. And through that, it's really been a beautiful journey. So, yeah.
That's amazing. And learn, earn, return.
Yeah. You're going to learn some things. You're going to earn some success, earn some money, earn some impact, but then never forget to give back. Never forget to, you know, everybody deserves a phone call, right? Give back. I hope better the world. Never forget where you came from and the people that helped you get to where you are.
So I know there's just somebody out there listening to this right now that's going through those you can't fly moments.
Yep.
How did you get through that?
You have to remember that you fell your way to success, and that sometimes in this journey, your number's going to get called. Your number's going to get pulled, and you're going to have a hard day. You're going to have difficult times. You're going to maybe have many hard days. You will face adversity. You will face difficulty. You will face failure. I don't care who you are. Everybody experiences that. That is a guarantee. And for me, dude, it's the hope and the belief that other people have had in me, that have seen in me, and have communicated my potential and my worth in a way that I sought within myself. And associating with those people, asking for support, asking for help, leaning on the foresight and like in the vision of others when I couldn't see myself. Like my whole foundation of everything I talk about was based off of a teacher. I struggled in school to sit still. I still have a hard time sitting still. Like even in this meeting, I'll hold my hand.
I was going to say, you're doing good.
Thanks. But it's hard. It's still hard to this day. And I would constantly tap. I would constantly move. And everybody saw an issue. They saw the problem. They saw a limitation. And I got sent to the principal's office. I got called the twitcher in school. I got called the tapper because I couldn't sit still. And my teacher, Mr. Jensen, he looked at me and he told me to stay after school. He said, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna have a conversation. And I remember thinking, this is it. Like, I'm getting kicked out of school as a 10-year-old. And he sat me down. He said, listen, he said, you're kind of the kid that's on the list. Like, you tap a lot. You tap in my class. You tap in everybody else's class. He said, but I've watched you though, Clint. He goes, it's crazy. He said, you'll take a pen, you start writing with your right hand, but then you tap with your left hand. And then you'll switch. You'll switch the pen, you start writing with your left hand, and then you tap with your right hand. And he was like, I think you're ambidextrous. I was like, I have no idea what that means. He's like, try this. He said, can you tap your head and rub your belly at the same time? And so I gave it a go. I could do it. And he goes, can you switch it? Can you rub your head and then tap your belly? And I could go back and forth. I just had this kind of independence with my hands and my legs. And he leaned forward and he said, listen, I don't think you're a problem. I just think you're a drummer. And he reached back in his desk and he opened up the top drawer and he reached inside and he took out my very first pair of drumsticks. And he put them in my hands and he said, listen, just keep them in your hands, okay? Like, let's just see what happens. And that was 25 years ago, man. And I can say to this day that 25 years ago, literally to just this morning, I have tried my best to keep my promise to Mr. Jensen. And for 25 years, I've had the opportunity to tour and record all over the world as a professional drummer. I've been on America's Got Talent. I played the drums with amazing artists and amazing individuals, sold out arenas. My whole college education was paid for because of music scholarships. And I don't say all of that to go, oh, wow, good for you, Clint, or, what a list of accolades. No, I say that because of one person that in a moment of darkness, in a moment where everybody saw the problems, including myself, it was one person who said, no, you're not a problem, you're an opportunity. And then he created a moment that allowed me to see who I really was. And we need the Mr. Jensens in our lives. And so much of the times in my life where I felt like I've been lost or I don't know where to go, it's been the view and the vantage point and the words and the moments that others have created that have helped me to get back on a track and really see what ultimately was there the whole time.
That's phenomenal. Do you still have those drumsticks?
I don't. Everybody asked that question, and I shredded them as a little kid. Like, I played so much. I was playing on pots and pans. And if I would have realized, 25 years ago, the power and the significance of what that moment was, I would have framed them. I would have, they'd be in a glass case somewhere. But no, I don't have them anymore. But it's been so cool to now, I have my own signature drumstick, and to now give that stick to others and so many other drummers and little kids that are now in high school and college that are just crushing it and touring and playing. And again, you learn, earn, and return. And the legacy of Mr. Jensen, that one moment, there's the phrase that you can count the seeds in an apple, but you can't count the apples in a seed. And that just one little seed, that one little moment that he planted, and the many, many lives that have been helped and benefited since. It's kind of cool.
That's phenomenal. And those drumsticks serve their purpose.
Totally.
Yeah. Now you're giving drumsticks away to kids that need them. Some that I'm sure deserve them. You just see a kid that's extremely talented, say, here's some drumsticks. I don't know what you do.
Here's a crazy thing. I've never talked about this on a podcast. Mr. Jensen, still alive. Call him Larry now. He's a big part of my life. We found out, it's been maybe a year ago, that he, 10 years ago, was a victim of fraud. So somebody sat down with him and his wife, and they claimed to be a financial advisor. And being an elderly couple and not totally aware of just, different things and what to be leery of, literally this guy came in and stole their life savings.
Oh my goodness.
Took all their money. I didn't know about this. Found out about it, and I'm like, here I am, into my career. It's so much of what I talk about, so much of what I do is the Mr. Jensen story. The drums have blessed my life. It's so much of it is because of him. And I said, there's got to be something that we can do. And we've started to take Mr. Jensen to my events. And I tell that story. We do the drum solo. We have this amazing experience. And then at the end of the keynote, I go, ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever in the history of your industry and in this event, please help me welcome to the stage the man that changed my life with a pair of drumsticks. And he comes from behind the stage. And it's just a moving powerful experience, and all of the money that we raise from that goes directly back to him. And so I'm on a mission to help pay his home off and to support him and to give back in a way that he has supported and blessed my life. So it's just that kind of stuff. Like, that is the fun of life. That is the beauty. That's the joy. That's the real stuff. That's the significance. And it's been a cool full circle moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And everything that you're talking about is just that one moment, that one thing, that one person that said this thing changed my life. As human beings, we make things up. We exaggerate things. We make things bigger. We make things even sometimes smaller than they really are.
Yeah.
It's what we do. With that, if you never give up, you will find something. You will find the drumsticks. You will find the speaking. You will be able to fly again as long as you just keep going. If you throw in the towel, you've lost it. You're done.
Yeah.
If you keep going, it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
And if you keep going, you're going to meet somebody. You're going to have that one moment sometime. I can't say it's going to be in a year. Can't say it's even going to be in 5. It might take 10.
Yeah.
But if you keep going, you will experience a moment that a moment like you've experienced.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's important too to, so sometimes though people are not authentic to themselves and they strive to keep going down a path that is not authentically them. And sometimes the case say, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. When in reality, it's like, no, take a minute and ask yourself, okay, you've been doing this for 5, 10 years. Is this really who you are? Is this really what you want to do? Is this really, again, what you feel like, whether it's God or a higher power, whatever it is, that you feel like this is what you're put on this earth to become? Is this ultimately what is fulfilling you? Because sometimes it's not that, right? And that's a really important, authentic conversation that people have to have for themselves. For me, for the longest time, I tried to talk myself into it's the medical field. That's security. That's job stability. I can do this. I can like this. I can make this work. But at the back of my mind, dude, it just, if I would have kept going, dude, no matter how much I tried, it just wouldn't have worked because it wasn't truly me. And so if you found that thing, then 100%, you keep going. You keep trying. You keep giving it a shot because it just takes one moment, right? Sometimes that story, the guy that he stopped mining for the gold, he quit and he was 3 feet from the gold. Have you heard that story?
I've heard similar stories, but probably not the one you're talking about.
Dude's up mining, like he bought all this machinery, came from the east, he's out in the west, he's in California chasing the gold rush. He did all the things. He's digging. Months go by, years go by, and the guy's like, nothing. This is just not working. It's not, nothing's happening. And so he goes down into town, so frustrated, so ticked, and he goes, I'm done. I give up. I'm selling all my equipment to the highest bidder. Whoever wants it, take it. It's up on the mountain. I'm done. Sold it to a guy in town. Guy goes up, cranks the machinery, starts digging, digs 3 feet into the mountain, hits the largest gold rush in the history of California ever on record. The dude was 3 feet away from the gold, and he quit. He quit. He gave up, and that's always been a cool story for me as well, right? Like, again, if I'm true to my authentic self, this is what I'm put on this earth to do. I'm in line with God. I'm in line with me. I'm pursuing that. Then, man, you just keep going because you never know. You just might be 3 feet away from the gold.
And what you're talking, quitting versus pivoting.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's quitting. Like when you're quitting on your authentic self, man, you're asking for a life of hardship.
Totally.
The what-ofs, could-ofs.
Regret. Heartache.
Yep.
All bitterness. Yeah.
If you pivot, you're not going to be the what-of, could-of, heartache, regret. Mm-hmm. You're going to say, I transitioned and I did it.
Yeah. And it's innovating, right? It's constantly changing. It's tweaking. It's growth. And that's a constant pivot of change.
I mean, it's typical. Life's the mountain, right? You start at the base and you pick one trail and you go up the trail. If you choose to go on a different trail that's headed to the same point, that's okay.
Totally.
You're still going to make it to the top. But if you turn around, and you'll never make it to the top. That's amazing. I could talk to you all day, Clint. I mean, you went from being told no to your dream to finding a new dream, per se, building upon drums, to then later in your year finding out that you can live out your first dream, and then you married all three together.
Yeah.
And now you're giving back in the community, and we need more people like you.
No, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
I'm just grateful to have you in my community, because it's good to see people here in Salt Lake, making dreams come true for others.
Yeah. It's a fun way to live.
Absolutely. What's next for you? Like, I know you just started Heli Life.
Yeah.
What is this, the next big thing, or is there anything that's following after this?
The goal is to continue to support the foundation for Dream Machines. Again, it's all about working within the fulfillment. So helping Mr. Jensen pay off his home, continuing to speak and to provide for my family, and to continue to promote. I love it here and what we're trying to do for the organizations that we speak to. But it's honestly just, it's really nice to say that, like, there is not like necessarily the next thing. It's just making the current things more significant.
Sometimes that's what life's about.
Yeah.
You found it.
Yeah. We got to that peak. So
well, I'm excited. And no better view than in a helicopter.
That's true. The views are amazing. Yes.
We need to make that happen. I've never been in a helicopter.
Let's do it.
I mean, I've hiked beautiful peaks. Mount Timpanogos was my latest one, and I see your videos. I'm like, I've seen beautiful views, but there's just nothing like it.
Yeah, it's the ultimate magic carpet ride. Yeah.
And I'm sure ever since your eyesight, you're like, wow, this is so much more beautiful than I ever imagined.
Yeah, there's just a lot of gratitude in it all. And I think that's why, again, I always have to give back. You always have to, like, I don't know. Like, I've never wanted to be like I made it success, cocky, flaunt. Like, no. All that success, all that good, dude, is just to help other people. It's just to give back. All that success is God. All that success is then literally been created so that God can use me to better the world. That's it. And the moment I think I forget that or deviate from that, that's when things get sketchy. That's when things, for me, become dark.
Well, it's an awareness, right? It's like let's just say your dreams, drumming, speaking, flying helicopters,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody else's dream allowed your dream to come true. Seeing.
Totally.
Right? Your dream of flying helicopters allowed somebody else's dream to become true just to get in a helicopter.
That's right.
Us humans do not function without each other.
Yep.
And that's why I love that you said a difference between success and sufficient. What's the word? Significant.
Yeah.
You cannot be significant without other people.
Totally.
Why does your dream is awesome to fly in helicopters, but it's so much more amplified when you get to help this kid with a disability go live out their dreams to getting in a helicopter.
Totally.
Yep. Significant, or it's a community.
Totally. And that's joy, man. That's true joy. Again, it's fun to go fly, and I'm up there, flying by, like, but dude, when we go flying, that's a whole nother level of fulfillment. That's a whole nother level of joy. Yeah.
That's powerful. Well, I have three more questions for you.
Great.
One is, what is your definition of an authentic life?
My definition of an authentic life would be the ability. I really want to think about that. Because for me, again, it's the authentic life is did I live to be the best for the world? Again, it's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best for the world. And so my authentic life would be, did I do that? Did I really live to better the world? Is the world better because I lived authentically to me? that would be that. Yeah, that'd be my definition.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
If there was one last thing you could leave for the audience today, what would that be?
There's a movie that I have loved. It's called We Bought a Zoo. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it's amazing. And it's all about entrepreneurship. It's all about living. It's all about being authentic. It's a beautiful story. The score is amazing. It's got animals, Matt Damon, and it's just about the journey. In that, though, there's a theme that I've always loved, and the theme is the power of 20 seconds of insane courage. If you can just muster up 20 seconds of insane courage, it's amazing what you can accomplish. And I look back on some of the most significant moments in my life from the day I quit my job. Actually, so the day I quit my job was the day I went on my first date with my wife, Kelly. And, the 20 seconds of insane courage that it took to ask her out on a date. And how just 20 seconds, being willing to look foolish, being willing to step into the unknown, being willing to take that risk. And it's just scary. It's hard. You might fail. But dude, the power of 20 seconds of insane courage can change your life. 20 seconds of insane courage. What is the cave that you fear to enter? What is the thing that you've been putting off? What is the thing that, man, if you could just 20 seconds of insane courage and hand in that 2 weeks notice, ask that girl out, try that new thing, sign up for that class, get that, whatever it is. Like, sometimes it just takes 20 seconds of insane courage that can change the course of forever.
Well said, man. Is there anything me and my audience can be doing for you?
No, just, dude, thank you for the support. Thank you for the good content that you put out and for trying to make the world a better place. You're truly living a level of significance, right? Where you're giving value, and the hopes of somebody listening to this that might live a better story because of what you've done is amazing. And people did that for you, and you are living a different life because of people that created podcasts just like you're doing. So to all the supporters, just thank you. It's an honor. Keep doing it. It's a good way to live. So,
amen. Thanks for coming on, man.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for listening to the Journey to Authenticity podcast. If you liked what both myself and Clint had to say, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. This helps to get the highest quality, but also the most interesting guests to come onto the show and help support you transform your life. Also, why I have you here. If you have a company, you have employees, you have a corporate event, you have just an event, or you have an audience that is ready to hear a transformative message on how to truly become your best version of self and ultimately create your highest result, be sure to go to bradenbelknap.com or the link below, and I'll be ready to come speak at your event. Thanks, everybody.